Hi, I'm Dan, and welcome back to the Rock Nerd Radio Show here on YouTube. New York Comic Con has come and gone, and I was so glad to see these figures revealed at New York Comic Con. Today we are taking a look at the new Marvel Legends Inhuman 2-packs, one being Black Bolt and Triton, the other being Medusa and Gorgon. Let's crack them open and take a look at them.
Come geek out with us on the Rock Nerd Radio Show.
So, like I said, we are taking a look at the two Marvel Legends Inhuman 2-packs. We are going to start with the Black Bolt and Triton 2-pack. Just to say it, shortly before New York Comic Con, I decided I really wanted to own all of the Inhumans. I'll be the first to admit, they've never been my favorite characters, but I did a rewatch over the summer of every animated Fantastic Four series, and it kind of really made me want to own the Inhumans again. So shortly before Comic Con, I ordered Karnak and Crystal and Lockjaw, and I found in my fodder bin an old Black Bolt. This one, I believe this was from the first Black Panther movie wave. But I don't have his alternate head, and honestly, there's a crack in his torso, so every time I move the head, the whole assembly kind of pops out. So I was really hoping that maybe I could find another Black Bolt, and I needed a Medusa. I used to have Medusa in my collection. I had both the San Diego Comic-Con Annihilation one, and I had the Walgreens one, but I went through a period where I didn't think we were going to get anyone other than Black Bolt and Medusa, so I got rid of them. Rebuying toys, hey, it's fun. But anyway, we're going to take a look at the first 2-pack, this being Black Bolt and Triton. And just to bring it in a little closer, you can see both our characters in the nice window packaging here. You can see all their different options as well, and I'm impressed with how much stuff these guys are coming with. I also like the overall look of the box. It has that very Black Bolt kind of costume look going to it. On the side, we do have some art of Black Bolt and Triton. It says Black Bolt and Triton down there. Nice little bio on the back. You can pause it if you want to read it. There we go. And then, again, some really cool art on the side. I like how they are using actual comic art. Not that I never liked the original art, but it's cool that they're using some of like the actual, maybe original art from the comics for this. Top just kind of has that Inhuman symbol. Bottom is all your legalese and whatever you want to see. So let's crack them open, because looking at the packaging is kind of boring. So we're going to start things off by looking at Black Bolt. And out of the package, he looks like this. I like this Black Bolt because he honestly looks a little lean and almost unassuming. You know, if you know who Black Bolt is, you know he's obviously the king of the Inhumans. He's got the deadliest voice. You know, the merest whisper from him can annihilate, you know, cities and areas. And but he looks almost unassuming, which I kind of like. Now, he does have other options to make him look a little more menacing. But if we bring the old one in, first off, our new one is a little taller, but he looks, like I said, unassuming compared to the old one. Now, granted, there's not a lot of stuff on him at the moment, and so he is kind of looking a little, you know, a little boring, but we are going to kind of spice him up. I'm going to take the old one out of here just so we can focus on him. But just to bring him in a little closer to the camera, you can see that very nice head sculpt with the little tuning fork up there. It looks very nice. I do like how the mask appears to be molded on, and it definitely feels like it's been molded. So you can feel a bit of the difference between the, you know, where the mask goes around his mouth and even to the eyes. And then on the costume, we have some very nice silver, the silver running down the main part of the costume. You know, some very nice looking black on here. And of course, you know, because it is painted and not like, you know, an overlay, when you do move him, you will break up the costume look. But otherwise, I think it matches pretty nicely. I'm not really seeing any paint errors on mine. When you lean him back, there's nothing painted. So it does get a little gappy here, but I mean, are you really going to stare at him? I guess if he's in a flight, I don't know. Anyway, on the back, same thing. They didn't really paint inside here, so the paint does get a little broken up. Now, I can already see it on the back of the shoulders because these are butterfly joints. When you're moving them in and out, like, you kind of got to line them up to make that back look real good. But unless you're taking an action figure photography kind of picture, you know, are you really looking at the character from his back? So, you know, that is something to consider. But otherwise, on the gloves, we have nice glove cuffs with the nicely painted silver on both sides. And then, you know, otherwise just the silver strap running down over the legs. It is painted on the back of the leg. And like I said, I'm not seeing any paint errors on mine. I think everything looks pretty good. So there we go. Now, Of course, he is missing an essential part of his costume, and that would be his wings. He does come with 2 wing options, one being a kind of folded up wing, one being the more open wing, and I guess it depends on how you want to, display him in order to put these on. So, on each arm, there is a little hole right there, right by my thumb. You can see each one of them there, and you just have to line up the wing so that it's going towards, so the tab in the arm, the rest going towards the body, so you can simply peg them in. That feels like a nice fit, and if his hands are at rest, it's going to go there. I'll start with the rest ones. We'll move into the more expressive ones as we go, but same thing on the other side. So they look like that from the back, but from the front, there you go. They are there. You do have a little bit of movement to them, or with them, so you don't have to have his arms like fully down, but you don't want to extend them too far because eventually it's going to get gappy. So we want to try to avoid the gap. So there we go. There he is like that. But that looks pretty good. Let's look at his other accessories while I'm talking about him, and then we'll get into the articulation. So I'm just going to slide him back a little bit. He does have a very angry, yelling head, and I like the look of this one because it has those kind of whited out eyes and more of the open mouth. Now, I did like how the old one had like the energy flowing off of it, just to bring it in once again so you can see it. Like, I did like the energy flow coming off of his tuning fork. I think that would have been a nice touch of something that you could maybe slide on and off. I'm trying to see if these come off the old one. No, I don't think they do. Unfortunately, the head would not match because we do have 2 different tones of paint, or colors of paint. But, yeah, so this one, unfortunately, is just going to look a little energy-less. But if you want to swap it on, you simply just pop the head off, pop the head on. There we go. And I really like the more angry-looking look on this. I really do like when Black Bolt looks angry. And continuing on to his other accessories, other than the head, you did see the 2 opened kind of wings. And these look like, actually, the interesting thing here is, I think these go under the arm. Hang on, we're gonna test it live right now because I'm not even sure myself. So if I take the old wings off, you just slide them off, and then these, there we go. Okay, I don't know why it was messed up in my mind, but these definitely have the ability to open his arms up more with them, so you can kind of get like the more opened wing look, which looks good. It is, his arms don't go up. Oh no, never mind. I take it back. You can work them up full enough to really look like they are going right down to his side. So I do like that. And I think if I am going to be displaying him, it might be in more of like a bit more of like a power stance. So I will probably end up having these wings on him to some degree while I am posing him. His arms might not be quite straight out every time, but it's nice to have the options. So I like that. In terms of other accessories, he has a couple different hand options. He has his fists on now, but he has kind of the open hand, flight hand. He has both a left and a right for these. So, these look like you're probably used to with Marvel Legends. I sometimes call them karate chop hands. Maybe these would be flight hands. He also has more open hand options. So he does have, the very open one and then like the almost claw-like one. And I do like how these look. I just don't know if I'm going to keep them on him. I don't know. I kind of like the fist on him. So, but if you want to swap anything out, you're probably used to it. You just pull one fist off, put the other fist on. There we go. And that's going to be how that goes. So, I like that. In terms of articulation, I believe, I'm not 100% sure. Is this the Vulcan body? It might be. But head is on a ball joint that can ball joint to a slider, so it can go up and down. And then because of the ball joint, you're going to have rotation at the head, as well as a little bit of wiggle on here. At the body, we do have full rotation around the waist, and we do have ab crunch. He's going to crunch forward that much and back that much. At the arms, we are going to have full rotation. Wings might affect that rotation, but it is full rotation. And then you do have butterfly joints as well, so he can bring his arms forward and bring his arms back. Too much movement, you're going to knock the wings off. I am actually going to take them off while I'm doing the articulation, just because I don't want to stress any of the plastic. All right, otherwise, full rotation at the bicep, and we do have double jointed pinless elbow, nice deep bend on there. The hands are going to rotate, all hand options will, and all the hand options also go in and out from left to right. So, you know, you can kind of have like the, I don't know, maybe he's I call it like the opera singing hand. Here we go. We probably don't want Black Bolt singing opera, though. Moving along to the legs. Legs are going to kick forward, going to kick back, going to rotate, and we do have double jointed pinless knee, goes way back. We even have some boot cut, and at the feet we have forward and back, and of course pivot. So he has all your standard Marvel Legends articulation. So yeah, he looks really cool. I am very happy with this Black Bolt. Like I said, I think I'll probably keep the screaming head on him, even if we don't really want him screaming, just because, you know, I like Black Bolt being a little more powered up, being a little more expressive. You know, I think that'll just look a little better. So I am probably going to mess with the wing options a little bit, but I'm going to slide him off into the background, and now we are going to take a look at Triton. So here's Triton, who I have to admit looks a little boring compared to Black Bolt, but there's some very cool detailing on this character I was not expecting. So if we bring him in closer to the camera, first off, he does have your very, like, you know, aquatic character type head. Nice, like, fin here, nice pointy ears. But if you look closely, his whole body is textured. I was expecting, like, a reuse, maybe like a goblin armor reuse that they're trying to call underwater scales. But as far as I can tell, this is all brand new tooling. This looks really, really cool. You have the nice detail down the legs, the nice purples and greens. These are my two favorite colors. So Triton is probably up there with one of my favorite looking characters in the MCU, and therefore on my shelf. But he just looks really cool. I really like the look of Triton. We have nice scaling, again, deep purple details that go from his shoulder onto the arms and down. Granted, it does get broken up when you move the arm, but if you have him like this, that looks like a continuous piece. Love the gloves on him. I think that looks great. This all this is sculpted. It's not floating, so it's not like an armor piece that moves. The belt does float, but you know, you can push it down to get down to the waist, and it doesn't really affect his movement too much. We'll talk about that. Like the purple on there, and I like how the purple striping details on him are slightly darker than the gloves. It almost makes this part look like armor and this fabric, which I think is a really nice touch. Something that, I don't know, sometimes I don't feel like you see on Marvel Legends. So I think that looks really nice. Now, in terms of his articulation, we'll do his articulation first. Very similar to Black Bolt. Head is on a ball joint to a slider, so he can look way up, actually. Fin does not get in the way. He can also look down quite nicely. And then again, we can twist and even tilt a little bit, you know, however you want to do that. At the body, we do have full rotation at the waist. Like I said, the belt might get in the way a little bit, but nothing that is really impeding too much movement. Ab crunch forward, ab crunch back, and I think that looks good for a swimming type character. He does have butterfly joints, which I didn't realize were there because they're kind of hidden on the sculpt. So I think that just looks really good. Like, these bands, they look like armor bands, but it ends up being like the butterfly joint piece. It looks so natural, and I think that is just phenomenally done. Anyway, at the arms, full rotation, going to be able to move pretty far up, and swivel at the bicep. So yeah, you know, great start. Double jointed elbow. The glove does get in the way a little bit, so you're going to have to kind of move around with that glove to really, if you want a real deep bend. But otherwise, I think it's doing the job. Hands rotate and go left and right. He has other hand options that move the same way. We'll talk about those in a minute. At his legs, kicking way forward, little bit back, and splits that far. Thigh rotation, double jointed knee, foot can go way back. Rotation at the boot, foot is going forward and back, and left to right. So there we go. I really like this. And I'm just trying to think, you know, with a character who is such a unique sculpt, like, I'm already thinking, like, who could they possibly retool this into? And I'm not really able to think of anyone just yet, but I feel like this mold will get reused in some way. I'm sure it's going to happen, but really like the look of him. And just to bring his head in a little closer too, like I really like the look on the face. I like the pupilless eyes. I think that looks great. Now, his accessories, in my opinion, are some of the cooler ones because he does have the open, I call them karate hands, but these would definitely be for swimming. So if you're going to have him looking like he is swimming since he is an underwater character, these are the perfect swim hands. I think this is exactly what he needs. Now, I'm not going to display him in a swimming type setting. He'll be standing on my shelf, and a character like him needs something in order to breathe on air and, not in the water. That's where the alternate head comes in. His alternate head, I want to say this is more of a current design for Triton, but he has like the oxygen breather on it, which looks so cool. And like this head too, just a lot more detail. I like how the fin is like swept back. It almost conveys movement to it, but we still get pointy ears. We still get the pupilless eyes. We have nice like eyebrows that go way back. And the breather on here, I was trying to see if it is stuck on. It seems to be. If you look closely, though, you can see it is its own piece, so it is probably glued on. I'm not going to be the one to do surgery and see what's underneath, but I think it looks great. But I want to see how that head looks on the figure. So we're going to do a quick head sculpt exchange. And there we go, and I think that looks so good. This just looks so neat to me, very interesting. I just realized who they could possibly redo this into. I'm going to say the Badoon, the space characters. Could be a possibility. But yeah, I love this head. It makes him look a lot meaner and a lot tougher now. If you had this guy coming out of the water, with this mean-looking breather, probably sounding like Darth Vader or something, you get this scaly dude ready to throw down. Like, this just looks like a mean character now, and I dig it. I think the only other Triton figure that ever existed, I think there was one in the original 90s Fantastic Four toy line. I don't believe I owned that one. I had a lot of those characters, but not all of them. So I want to say this is the first Triton I've ever owned. This looks awesome. And if there has been another Triton figure, please let me know in the comments below because I truly don't remember. But I think this looks really great. And just putting him with Black Bolt, the two of them look really good together. As members of the Inhuman royal family, like they look tough, they look menacing, they look like they are going to mess you up. But they're not the only Inhumans we have to talk about today. We have another 2-pack. So let's crack open the Medusa and Gorgon set and take a look at them too. Now, just to say it before I even open these guys up, this kind of made me laugh. In Greek mythology, Medusa is a Gorgon. And I'm wondering if any of that ideas, if any of that went into the putting together of these two characters, Medusa and Gorgon. Silly little thing that I thought about. But you can see all the cool stuff in the window packaging. Looks very nice. Art at the bottom. Again, we have comic art. And more comic art on the back. And more comic art on the side. This time looking a little more in action. So I really like this. I was not expecting Gorgon to be this big. We are definitely going to compare him with some stuff when he's out. But I was not ready for him to be this tall. So let's get these two out of the package. So here is Medusa out of the package. And this is, I want to say, like one of her more original outfits. Like I was saying before, I went to San Diego Comic-Con knowing that I had most of the Inhuman royal family that they've made figures of. And I was looking for a Medusa. I'm very glad we got this one because the Annihilation Era one, while I like that costume, I don't think it's like the Timeless one. And the Walgreens one, yeah, maybe that's what you think of, but it was never my favorite look for Medusa. I like this a lot. I think this is a very cool look. Just to say it, I honestly think at some point we are going to get members of the Frightful Four. And I could see there being a new Medusa coming out in another costume to maybe help fill out a wave or something, or maybe another 2-pack. I don't know if I need another Medusa on my shelf. I think I'm happy with just the one. She'll be with the Inhumans. If they ever do make a Frightful Four, there have been so many members of the Frightful Four, maybe I wouldn't go for Medusa on the team. Maybe I'd put somebody else there. But anyway, here she is out of the package, and just to bring her in close, she does look a little pissed off, and I think I would be too if I had to shampoo this much hair. But she looks really cool. I like how the hair isn't just a big piece on her. It is going everywhere. And it is, it has some movement to it. And there is actually articulated hair on this figure, which we'll be talking about. But just looking at the hair up top, coming off the head, we have tendrils. We have, like snaking hair. It looks good. Down at the, just to look at the back of it, we have even more. And it does kind of rest nicely. So, yeah, she is going to lean on it, but, like, you don't have to have her, like, leaning super far back. You don't need to have a weird, an inhuman position, if you will. It is heavy, though, so that head is going to naturally kind of fall back. I like the bare arms. I like the little inhuman, almost an M on the belt. I like the bare legs. And then, again, the nicely done black and purple boots. That looks really good, matching the gloves as well, with the deep kind of V on here. And this is molded. This black piece is molded here, and it is just painted on the foot, so you are aware. In terms of her articulation, head's on a ball joint, but you probably aren't going to be able to get a whole lot out of it. You can get turning, otherwise it just is going to flop back because the hair is so heavy. Which could be a downside, depending on your idea and look of that. She has the newer kind of updated female body, so she will have crunch at the bottom. But again, if you balance her right, you may be able to get her to kind of bend. But nope, not so much. Just noticed the boot cuffs do slide down. I thought we were past that, but they do stay pretty well. It's just because I kind of hit into them. Anyway, let's get her back up. At the torso, otherwise, we do have twisting and we do have bending, so you can get this body into some expressiveness, however you want to. Butterfly joints at the elbows. At the shoulders. And that would be weird to have butterfly joints at your elbows. At the shoulders, the hair kind of fights you, so you do have to move them around the hair. Otherwise, the arms will rotate all the way around, and they will go out that far. All right, we do have rotation at the bicep. We do have double jointed elbows. Now, they do feel a little thin, so just be, see, I was bending the whole arm. So just be careful when you are bending it. Like, I started bending this piece, which isn't what I want to do, so do be careful. Mine seems a little stuck at the moment. I'm going to have to work on that later, but yeah, just be careful. Hands, I will admit the hands do seem a little small, these fists, but they do rotate and they do go in and out. She does have open hand accessories that I'll just show you real quick. She might fall over. So, your typical female open hands that also go in and out from side to side. All right, moving on down to the legs. She can kick forward, no kick back, split that far, rotation at the thigh, and these move nicely. These glide right along. I like that. Oh my God. Her knee is a double jointed knee, but as you can see on mine, it is already busted. That sucks. How about my other knee? The other knee is okay. So, that was a surprise. That was an unwelcome surprise. She will stand, but the knee definitely seems a little weak. So I'm going to have to be very careful how I stand her. Damn, that sucks. Hopefully it's just mine and not an ongoing issue. The bottom part of the knee I can bend. Man, that's a serious bummer. But no boot cut otherwise. Feet go left and right, or I'm sorry, up and down, and swivel left to right. So I may kind of have her stand a little open-legged here, and then have her kind of relying on the hair. So something like this. It does mean her feet aren't quite flat on the ground, but that might be how I have to stand her. That's a bit of a bummer. I'm not going to lie. That is disappointing to me. I hate when things like that happen out of the package. Not throwing any shade at Hasbro or anything. These things happen, but yeah, definitely a bummer. In terms of her accessories, I already kind of showed them off, but she does have the open hands, which I think might look better on her. Because like I said, I feel like these fists are a little small. So I'm going to take them off. I'm going to put the open hands on. There we go. And these glove cuffs, just to say it, are sculpted. Or not sculpted, are an overlay. So you can remove these if you want to. And just make sure that when you are changing the hands, they don't go flying off. So, you want to make sure they stay put. So there we go. There's Medusa looking pretty cool. Now I'm going to bring the head sculpt in a little closer for a moment because this is a more angry head sculpt. And there is a calm face sculpt. And this, as you can see, is just a face. It's not a whole head. So the way that this works, you can just you literally just pull the face off, and that is friggin' terrifying. But you just slide the new one in, and it's pretty seamless. Honestly, the paint on the other face looks a little darker compared to her ears, but it is more of a angry face without the gritting teeth. I think I like that better than the gritting teeth one, personally. So I think I'm just gonna keep it on. But yeah, there is Medusa. Now, like I said, bummer about the knee, but otherwise she looks good. We'll put her next to her king, to Black Bolt, and then we'll put the cousin, Triton, in the back here for now. With these three out of the way, there's only one more left to talk about, and boy, is he a big one. So let's take out Gorgon. And just to get Gorgon to fit on the screen, I literally had to raise my entire camera. He is huge. When I saw him at the New York Comic-Con Hasbro booth, I assumed he was a Build-A-Figure because he's huge. And I'm so glad I was able to get him in one shot, unlike the Executioner, who, if you saw that recent video I had with the Enchantress figure that I got in the World War II Weapon X, or Wolverine, that I was a little upset that, I have to buy a whole wave to get that Executioner. I kind of would have been okay with buying a wave to get Gorgon because we don't have a ton of Fantastic Four characters. And if you threw in maybe these three Inhumans and like a new Mole Man or something, that would have been a cool wave to kind of buy. But anyway, here he is. Glad I got him in one shot. He is so detailed. And he's, like I said, he is huge. So let's bring him in a little closer so you can see him. First off, we're going to look at this head sculpt. Love the white eyes. Love the little crown on his head. Love all the facial hair. And all just the hair in general. It is very, uniquely sculpted. It's not just a flat piece. Pointy little ears. He's got this, I don't know what you would call this piece, but, this like overshirt. And if you do want to take it off, you have that option. You could have a cloakless Gorgon here, just kind of pop that head back on. And now you have more of like, almost like a muscle shirt. It's not a bad look, actually. And if you find that you don't like that cloak, it is something you can do. I am going to keep the cloak off after I just kind of show you it, just so I can go over his articulation, because it is a hard plastic. This is not very flexible, so it will inhibit his movement in the end, but we'll talk about that. So just looking at the rest of him, though, nice stripes going down him, kind of connects down to the black on his sash here. And when you bend him back, we do have, because the torso is painted on the outside of the joint, we don't have any paint breakups here, and nothing on the back, so nothing to worry about on the back. But as on the arms, we do have these veiny, big arms. On both arms, we also have some nicely detailed, like, hair on his arms, which I think looks really cool. Love that he's got the bracers around the wrist, the bracelets. I think that looks really cool. And right now, he's sporting two fists, two nice, big, strong guy fists. They look really cool, and it makes him look like quite the tough guy. So, I kind of dig this. He looks pretty cool right now. Not that I think he's a showboaty kind of guy, but, just really think he looks really awesome. Of course, his powers are to generate seismic waves with his feet. We're going to get to his feet in just a second. Looking at his legs, some nice detail on the legs. You can see this, like, stitching, almost like a football, going up and down. I think that looks really cool. Nice metallic looking knee pads. Stitching continues down the leg, and then we get his like goat feet. And I feel like this is a more recent design in the comics. I feel like for a while he just had like regular feet. Now he has these very animalistic feet, and they are nice and big. Like it looks like he's standing on platform shoes, quite honestly. But you can see the nice detail on them at the bottom. We do have, that might be more for molding purposes, but we do have some details. You can see the toe cut out because, again, it looks like a hoof of some kind and just looks really, really cool. Talking about his articulation, starting with the head, you already saw us on a ball joint to a slider, so he's going to be able to look left and right. He can look up, and he can even look down. The beard doesn't really get in the way of that. At his body, we do have rotation at the bottom, and like you saw, clickety ab crunch. You can go back and forward. No butterfly joints at the arms, but I feel like for a character this size, that's forgivable. Arms without the sash are going to go all the way around and out. And we do have rotation at the bicep. Single jointed elbow, which is a bit of a bummer, but there's so much going on with him, I feel like I can forgive it. Hands are going to rotate around, and then they will move in and out on that joint. Looks pretty cool. He does have a secondary set of hands that are open, and with those, one of them goes left to right, and the other one, which we're going to use for something else, does go up and down. So we will be talking about that. Legs kick out that far, back not too much, and out that far. Rotation at the thigh, and double knee bend, as you can see. And then finally at the ankles, we do have full boot cut. I don't know how much you want to twist that, but then we do have the hoof is going to go up and down, and because it's a forward-facing pin, it will kind of go left to right as well. So I think I'm going to put his sash back on, and then we're going to take a look at some of his other accessories. So with his sash back on, I do want to show off his accessories, because I think he has some interesting ones. So he does have a grip hand that can actually be used to hold something, and we'll be looking at that in just a moment. He also has more of the open kind of hand, which reminds me of the hand we kind of see with like a lot of like the Vulcan body figures, just kind of blown up. And I do think this looks good. And of course, because they are interchangeable hands, all you have to do in order to get them on is pull a hand off. His bracelets are a separate piece. The skin tone, because there's like the painted hair on him, it looks weird without the bracelets on. So you're definitely going to want to keep them on. But I'm going to put this hand on. And this is the one I was saying that goes up and down. So there is different movement on this hand. But we're going to look at why in just a moment. So the other accessory that Gorgon has is this really, really cool mace. And this thing is just textured, very cool. The light hits it in some neat ways. It has a nice reflection. And this part does spin. It doesn't come off, but it does at least... you know what? I don't want to try to take it off, but it does spin. I don't know if that really matters, but nicely detailed handle, as you can see. And just, yeah, like all these lines in this. I'm not sure if this is from something specific or not, but if you want to have Gorgon hold the mace, you can just put it into his open hand here and have him hold it. It's not the tightest fit. It definitely kind of is a little loose, but he can hold this mace, and it looks very neat. It looks like a very cool weapon. You know, if you saw this guy come kind of charging at you with this mace in hand, I would definitely be scared, especially because he's just so damn big. But yeah, the way the hand is sculpted, like you can see, it doesn't hold this super tight. Like even if I try to get the fingers around it, so you know it'll work, but it's not like a perfect fit. So you know, just to say that. But otherwise, I do think he looks quite good, and you know, he's standing pretty well. This mace also isn't that heavy. I think the green part is hollow, so it's not going to weigh him down. But yeah, I think he looks really, really good. So now that we've seen this, I think it's time to put all of my Inhuman family together, including some past Inhumans. So lowering the camera just a drop, we do see how all these guys look together, and I think this is pretty much going to be how I display them. I really do like the way that these guys look, but I did mention that I was going to bring in some past Inhumans, so we should add Karnak to the mix, and of course this is a very classic Karnak, so I think that looks pretty good. Unfortunately, Karnak is not pinless. You can see the pins on him, and it's not the end of the world, but it you know, when you're standing him with everybody, it might make a difference. Although with the way I have him posed right now, you can't really tell that he's pinned. There are two other Inhumans to talk about, so of course, let's bring in the loyal Lockjaw here, and he's a really big figure, so he's kind of hard to stick somewhere, but there he is. He looks pretty good. And then, of course, we need Crystal from that 2-pack with Lockjaw. So here she stands. And I think altogether, this looks really, really good. This looks like, you know, a team. And not necessarily like in any bit of design aspect or anything. But if you know who they are, you know what this seeing all them together means. And if you're reading the comics right now, the recent Imperial event just ended, and The Inhumans are back in a power seat in the Marvel Universe. I'm very excited to see where they go with that. But yeah, this is how this team looks, and I think it looks pretty darn good. So altogether, they look they look really, really nice. So I'm just gonna move our older Inhumans out real quick and share some final thoughts. One quick thing to mention, because I forgot to mention it before, I did mention that Medusa's hair is articulated, and yeah, you can see it moves here. So this whole bit of her hair you can move, which might assist with how you want to pose her. I kind of said that I was probably just going to angle it down and have her stand. But yeah, you can really mess with this and have her pose in some different ways. It is going to affect the poses you put her in. And just to say it too, I've been noticing with mine, since I've been messing around, her faceplate very easily, of course now it's stuck, but it was easily falling out. So I really had to push it onto the head, and now it is staying. But before, the littlest bit of movement was making it fall off. So just make sure you push that faceplate on if you want her face to stay on his head. But looking at these four, granted, there are two different 2-packs. Obviously, you know, we have Gorgon and Medusa in one, and we have Triton and Black Bolt in the other. If I were to rank all four of these figures, I think, honestly, Medusa would probably be at the bottom. Mostly because right now, like I said, I have some QC with mine. But the hair, I feel like, really does impede how you're going to move her. Black Bolt, I think, would be the one I'd rate third. And I'm not saying any of these are bad. I want that to be clear. But Black Bolt would be third. I think he could have done better with some power effects. Triton, I would rate as the set, number 2. Just because the tooling is really unique, and I love this alternate head. But Gorgon definitely takes the cake. He is the best figure in this set. And like I said, I'm glad these were 2-packs and not I'm glad he wasn't a Build-A-Figure for a wave where I may not have wanted everybody, because I think this goes a long, long way into just making a great figure, and again, making a great set with these other Inhumans that I already have. So I would love to know what you think of these packs. You know, if you're not an Inhuman collector or an Inhuman fan, I don't think you need these sets at all. I think they are kind of an easy skip for people who might not care about the Inhumans, but if you do care about them, I definitely advise picking these up. But let me know what you think down in the comments below about these figures. Are they worth picking up for you? Are you going to get them? I would love to know. And until next time, make sure you check out the Rock Nerd Radio Show podcast. It is a weekly podcast. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts, and it's a pop culture podcast hosted by myself and my good friend Vinny. We always have something fun to talk about on there. But until next time, I've been Dan. Those have been the Inhumans. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you around.